Good evening. Welcome to tonight's On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers. Tonight's show is 1 hour long and live, but sadly we don't have our text system tonight. So if you have any comments, why not post them on our forum for future response on edgemediatv.com. Why not get it ready to go online? I want to ask you a question. Do you believe in alien abductions? Well, my guest tonight is a man who does. He was thrown into some bizarre adventures to do with just that subject because of the regular abductions of his former girlfriend, who suffered at the hands of so-called small grey aliens from the age of 13 until she was 18. These led to further extraordinary events, which inspired him to travel the world, shooting film of UFOs. He is the author of Intruders in the Night. He is Christopher Martin. What a show we've got tonight. Christopher, welcome.
Thanks, Theo.
Very good to have you here. I'm going to show your book. This is your book, Intruders in the Night, with a foreword by Nick Pope.
That's correct.
So, tell me the story. You met this girl, you went out with this girl, she told you strange things had happened to her.
Well, she was quite reticent about this. It's not something that you expect in a relationship. It's something you see on TV or read in a Sunday supplement, but in your kind of real day-to-day life, these things don't happen. I remember at the time when she told me, this was back in 1996.
Yeah.
I'd noticed she was reading a magazine, and it was about an abduction of a young lad in northern England.
Right.
And I thought it was quite unusual that she was quite interested in this. So
yeah.
A bit later on, I asked her, I said, "Look, why were you interested in this story?" And she said, "Well, you know, I've had a similar experience happen to me." And I remember being absolutely dumbstruck. I thought, well, you know, you're either lying to me, or this is something that I'm going to have to investigate.
Well, it is quite a confront, isn't it,
well,
really?
absolutely.
It's not like, you know, I've been to the shops and bought some apples.
Well,
it's,
this is it, yeah.
I've been taken by aliens.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask you, did you doubt her sanity?
Of course I did. I didn't know whether these things were real. I had to decide whether she was telling the truth, whether she was lying, or whether she was fantasizing.
Fantasies, yeah.
And I didn't make my mind up for quite a few months. I just decided to take on the role of just observer and just try and, you know, authenticate or you know, otherwise her claims, you know.
So, all right, so presumably after a while, you know, you began to delve down into what had actually happened. You want to tell us that story?
Well, she told me that this had happened to her from early teens. She was visited in her bedroom at her parents' house in South London, approximately 2:45 in the morning. Her bed was surrounded by these...
This is when she was 13, the first time this happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
These hooded beings were around her.
I've got to ask you this, was there a connection to puberty?
Well, she says no. She says these were real events. These
no, I'm not saying that was a fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, you know, there are people who say that these things start at puberty.
Quite possibly. I mean, we subsequently found out that they seem to target people with unusual abilities. And I also found out that she was quite psychic, and she had experiences of communicating with deceased relatives, and this seemed to interest whoever these beings are.
Okay.
They seem to target humans who are quite psychic or have got abilities beyond the norm.
How do you know that?
Well, this is what she was told.
By them?
By them, yes. We'll come on to that. But,
okay, so let's talk about the first time this happened to her, because I think this is, you know, this is critical, isn't it, really? So she's 13, it's 2:30 or something in the morning, you said.
She woke up, paralysed in her bed, these dark beings around her. She couldn't move, apart from her eyes. She's frozen with fear. A few seconds later, she passed out, came to, found herself in a brightly lit room with curved walls. Everything seemed to be seamless. There were no struts or screws or anything. Just light everywhere. A big screen above her head. She was lying down on a table.
Yeah.
And she was told, again, not by words, but maybe some sort of telepathy, to memorise these geometric shapes and symbols that were flashed onto the screen.
They asked her to do a memory test.
And this was increased each time.
How would she describe these symbols? Even if you remember a symbol, how would you describe a squiggly line that's different from another squiggly line?
Sequences of symbols.
Yeah.
So, you know, there'd be a sequence of 4 geometric shapes.
Yeah.
They would flash up, disappear. She'd have to repeat them.
Repeat what?
The sequence, whether circle, square, shape, whatever.
She would say circle, square.
Yes.
She would say that, would
Yes,
she?
and each time it would increase. And this went on for several months.
What, every night?
Maybe not every night, but certainly, you know, several times a week.
This is really seriously weird, isn't it?
Well,
And okay, well,
Yeah.
describe these beings then.
well, she said they were quite small in terms of human size, maybe 4 feet tall, very frail, musculature, but quite over large head. And she said the eyes were very striking.
So the classic grey alien.
Well, at the time, I didn't know what a classic grey alien was, but I subsequently found out, yes.
But the one you see in all those sort of Roswell
That's right.
souvenir
Well, you have to remember
things.
this was 1996, 13 years ago. So,
Yeah.
you know, that was still, you know, it wasn't ingrained in our culture as it is now. You know.
I think those Roswell alien types have been around for a bit, haven't they? It's
Possibly.
1948,
I
wasn't it?
wasn't aware of them, you know. It wasn't
Okay.
a big thing for me.
So it wasn't your kind of interest
Wasn't my
in particular?
bag, no.
It wasn't your
No.
bag.
No.
Okay, so what should we call this lady?
Her name, but we use a pseudonym, Vicky, but yeah.
Okay, we use a pseudonym. Well,
Yeah.
obviously we don't want to identify her unnecessarily. Let's call her Vicky then. So this went on for a while, this being taken. And when she came back to her bed, was she asleep and woke up in the morning?
She would just wake up. She would just wake up and it would be morning. She'd go off to college, whatever, or school, and that was that.
And were there marks on her body of any kind?
She mentioned some marks on her wrists, but I didn't witness them. But I did see some marks a few months later on that I witnessed and photographed on her
Okay.
skin. Yeah.
All right, so let's carry on talking about what happened to her subsequently then in this, because this obviously went on for 5 years, you say. So
On and off. But,
on and off.
she found out that whenever she was using her mind in a kind of intellectual capacity, it seemed to draw their attentions. So she found a way to stop them taking it was to actually stop. She dropped out of college and just basically did nothing for a number of months. And
Because when she had any sort of intellectual thoughts,
yeah, it seemed to trigger the.
so she just thought about what she was going to have for lunch or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't
No
interesting.
studying.
No studying.
No.
And did they put any kind of pressure on her to do anything when she wasn't there, wherever
Well, no,
there was?
they seemed to leave her alone, and she was happy with that situation. But of course, at this point, I thought to myself, "Now this is a way to verify this. If we can test this." I thought, right, I'm going to get a test. So what I did was I found an aptitude test, which I had for a job interview, and I sat her down. I said, "Look, we're going to see what happens. I want you to sit down and fill this test in." And that's what she did. And I remember watching her, and she was filling this form in and trying to answer all these questions. She found it very difficult. And then suddenly her eyes seemed to open, and she seemed to have some assistance from somewhere. And at the end, she was answering all these quite hard, advanced questions. And she said to me, "Oh, they're back."
So not only are they interested in her thinking processes, but you're suggesting that they're also contributing to her thinking processes.
They were inside her mind. That might sound a bit of a...
It is sounding
Difficult.
quite crazy, isn't it?
Crazy,
I mean,
yes.
you know, I'm not saying for a moment that she was crazy, but
Yes.
were there any signs that she was crazy?
Well, I mean, we were together approximately a year, and I'd say, and I've had 12, 13 years to think about this, I'd say anyone who'd gone through something like that is going to be affected in some way.
Okay.
That's not to say that I thought she was lying, but because I can't discount everything that I saw,
Okay.
and there was a number of paranormal events that myself and other witnesses were party to in her presence.
Okay. Well, we'll get onto those,
Yeah,
I think. Let's talk a bit more about what happened to her, you know, as she went forward in this experience. So sort of from the age of 13, she obviously, this kept happening. She tried to resist it, obviously, by not thinking.
It was almost like they were like the way we train animals, pets, to do tricks, and you know, we train chimps to operate machinery. They seem to be testing us or testing her to see how far they could increase her intellectual abilities. This is what she felt.
Well, she felt that she was like a monkey in a zoo or something.
Or being trained, maybe, you know. Maybe just to see how far we can we can go in our mental capacities, if you like.
Is she a very intelligent woman?
We had her IQ test. She had an average IQ.
Average. So was there anything else special about her? You know, maybe she was a racially unusual or something, or
she was just Romany extraction, Romany Polish extraction. Very ordinary girl. Very ordinary.
Well, maybe that isn't. Maybe that's something special. I don't know.
But as I said, you know, she had some unusual.
Roman is unusual. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
there seems to be a trend of psychic or you know, that's kind of paranormal traits. You know, fortune tellers and that kind of thing.
And she had all this ability anyway. You're saying.
Well, that's she implied that's what attracted these greys to her, that because she was psychic.
So that was what they were interested in, not her intelligence necessarily. Okay, so when they were helping her do things, do you think that was basically just like somebody whispering in your ear, or were they actually doing something more fundamental to her brain, increasing her ability to think?
Well, yeah, her memory. She said her memory was increased, and I remember when she was being assisted to do. I tested her with questions. I had a puzzle book, and when she was being assisted, her intellect seemed to rise.
So when she did the IQ test, they weren't helping her then, presumably?
They weren't. We did a Mensa test, preliminary test, and she scored 130, and that was with their assistant.
That was with their assistant?
And then she went and did the official test. They didn't help her, and she scored 103 or something. So there was this discrepancy that, you know, I can't explain.
Did she ask them to help her when she wanted it, or was it entirely up to them? Was it not in her ability to request a bit of help? You know, say she was doing an exam.
No, I mean they wouldn't, you know, help her to order. It was not something she had total control of, I don't think.
So
that did disturb her a little bit. The fact they could get into her mind and almost just poke around and.
Well, how did she feel about this? I mean, she must have. I presume she must have not liked being taken.
Well, that's right. That's why she tried to avoid stimulating her mind to stop them intruding.
So every time she went on their craft or wherever, they didn't do medical experiments, because a lot of people talk about medical experiments and, you know, having their eggs harvested and things like that.
This is something that came out a few months on. She was aware that there were, shall we say, hybrid children that, and one particular that she felt she had a close affinity with.
So,
and this disturbed her.
Well, I'm not surprised. So you're saying then that she had in this place, on this spaceship, if you like, a hybrid child that was hers, half hers and half what? Grey alien?
Yeah, she said she saw several of these kids who were very lackluster and limp and very lacking in kind of a life force. They were just very sad beings, and she felt a connection with one of them.
Did they tell her that she was connected to one of them?
They didn't, but I think she guessed maybe there was a connection.
And these children were not. They didn't look healthy then.
No.
What did they look? Did they look human?
They look human, but deformed with, you know, larger heads and just the emotional. They seem to lack being nurtured and loved. This environment. It was like a very cold, sterile environment.
Did she offer them some love? Did she give this child a hug?
I don't think she spent very much time. You know, they're up there, we're down here, and you know, there's not the place to meet. This is the tragic thing, you know. This was all very exciting and interesting, but there's this side of it that is going on. That, if you think about it, that, you know, there's a new race that's been created that isn't human but isn't alien. It's this kind of complex mixture.
Were these? Did she have any kind of conversation with the aliens about these children?
Well, she used to channel. This is the other thing we'll touch on. They used to channel information.
The children
her.
did.
No, the adults.
The adults channeled.
The first time I remember it happened, she was kind of snoozing on the couch, and her eyes started. She had her eyes shut, but her eyes were darting left.
Yeah, REM, REM.
Yeah,
This is rapid eye movement. This is dream state, isn't it?
And I said, she was awake. I said, well, what's going on? She said, I'm being fed some information.
Yeah.
And when that finished, she went on the computer and typed out this this kind of body of text that was it's in my book, but.
Welcome back to On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers, and my special guest, author and filmmaker Christopher Martin. Sadly, he's not the Chris Martin from Coldplay, although actually I think he's better guest than Chris Martin from Coldplay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's just get back to, you know, you're in this relationship with this girl who's telling you all these things that have happened to her, quite extraordinary things, which presumably you are now believing.
I was open-minded to it. I wouldn't say I was believing it because this was just too extraordinary to come to a decision that soon. I needed more evidence to make a judgment.
So just before the break, you were talking about her channeling, or she was like in some sort of trance state, or like a dream state, while she was sitting on the sofa or lying on the sofa. Yes. And what did she, when she came out of this state, she wrote stuff on the computer? She
said, I've got to write this down. I've been told I've got to type this out, and it's got to be published.
Oh, to publish something?
Yeah.
And what was it?
Well, it was just basically a few hundred words. It's in my book. I can read a little bit out. If this was channeled at the time, we didn't know what channeling was. I mean, we just thought this was. We didn't quite know what was going on, but this is what was written by her, but wasn't by her. It's about her abduction experiences, and it starts off. My own abduction experiences began when I was 14 and a half years old. I would wake up at the same time every night, sitting up in bed.
Oh, not 13, I'm sorry, I thought...
Okay. Yeah. After about a minute, I would feel that I was being forced to lie back down, and I would be paralysed, my eyes being the one thing I would only be able to move. This happened over a period of 18 months, continuously, during which time the ETs communicated with me. They explained to me that the reason they were interested in me was because of my psychic abilities, her psychic abilities. They also told me that although they're of great interest to us, we are of a greater interest to them, especially those with psychic abilities, because although their brain capacity is many times greater than ours, communicating with spirits sometimes is something they don't understand. This is one of the many reasons that they are interested. They are amazed and shocked by our world wars and the tense feelings between many countries. They cannot understand why we have wars when at the end of it there are still things left unsolved. Psychic abilities are one of the main things that they don't understand, as they don't see how you can contact the dead and see into the future with the technology we have. They're also amazed at the basic level of our technology. They class it as extremely primitive in comparison to theirs. Another thing they are amazed by is our human form, which is again classed as primitive.
Okay.
There's a few things there that...
Yeah, it is actually very interesting. It makes you think, but... okay, but didn't they communicate telepathically?
To her, yes.
So are you saying then that what we can deduce from this is that they can communicate telepathically, but they can't talk to spirits, if you like, the dead people? I mean, I had Gordon Smith, the psychic medium, on that sofa very recently. And he's somebody who apparently has that ability.
Yes, yes.
So are you saying that this is the one thing that we've got that they haven't got?
It seems to be that way. You have to remember there are various different types of greys. They allude to the fact that there are at least 3 different subgroups of greys.
Just of the greys, there's 3?
Yes. And these groups have different levels of technology. Some are more advanced than others. Some of their technology is quite crude.
Yeah.
And this is why some people are injured when they're being abducted, apparently. But none of these groups have this technology to communicate beyond the veil, if you like.
Yeah.
And that's why they're very interested in human beings that can do that.
Okay. All right, so I'm just a bit confused. I think our timing is not right. I'm just saying up to the gallery, we're having some problems with the timing, but what I've got is definitely not right.
Okay.
So just so you know, guys, we don't go to a break that I don't know about. Right. So you go on and tell me a bit more of the story about what happened with her. What began to happen and how things developed.
Well, once we'd done that test and she said they were back, suddenly they were in our lives, and they were very, very visible to her, and to me in terms of unexplainable events that would go on in the flat. Things would disappear. We'd leave things in the like a glass on the table. We'd go out, come back, find it was moved, find footprints on the ceiling from trainers that we'd left.
Footprints on the ceiling?
Yeah.
It wasn't Spider Pig, was it? Sorry, that's the Homer Simpson. But just human-type footprints on the ceiling.
It was a trainer. One of her trainers. Someone had just stuck it on the ceiling.
Okay, and that hadn't been there before.
No. We'd be watching videos, and the video recorder would suddenly stop and go into rewind and play, and then she said, "Oh, they wanted to watch that section again." It was just the most bizarre catalogue of events. The night that she channeled that first letter, some marks appeared on her shoulder. I noticed that she was going to bed, and I took some photographs and video. These marks were just lots of small dots that were under her skin, and I tried
like a rash or something.
Well, no, like hieroglyphs. They were just the most bizarre things. I took a photograph. I took a video actually, and I've got a still here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but
probably not. I don't think.
It's just a very strange collection of dots, and they faded within a couple of hours.
I see, they're joined up, aren't they? They look like it could be a word or something.
Possibly, yeah. And they faded, and this wasn't ink, this wasn't pinpricks, this was something under the skin, but it disappeared.
Could it be some implant of some kind?
I don't know what it
had
was.
Become activated or something?
Possibly. She said this is proof for myself. She also claimed
hold on,
yeah.
I'm interested in this. She said it was proof for you, so they wanted to impress you, did they?
They wanted to convince me, because I think they knew I was still on the fence, if you like.
Did you think, well, in that case, did you have some importance to them, do you think?
Well, subsequently, I believe I did, but at the time, I had no idea what was going on.
Were you abducted?
I don't know. I mean, I tried to take the role on of observer, but I was involved in this, and I'm sure there was interactions going on, but I've got no record.
You don't have any conscious record of it? You didn't have any marks on your body?
No.
So, okay, so you're living with this lady that we'll call Vicky, and is she still being abducted?
I don't know. No, this is 13 years ago. She's got a new life. She's got kids and stuff, and she's happy to keep a low profile.
Yeah.
But at the time...
No, I'm not asking if she's being abducted now.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that while you were living with her, was she still being abducted?
Well, it stopped, you see, because she'd kept them away. But once we seemed to have opened the floodgates, it all began to happen again. And yes, she was. She claimed she was.
So she was being abducted while you were there?
Yeah, while I was asleep.
While you were asleep. So you slept on?
No, I tried to catch them out one particular evening. I set up a video camera in the corner of the room.
This is a bit like that film, isn't it? Paranormal Activity or whatever it's called. That's out right now.
This is real life.
So you set up a video camera in the bedroom, and what did you catch?
We set the VCR, plugged it into the camera with a long play tape, so we had 8 hours of continuous recording. And we just went to bed and fell asleep and woke up the next morning. We'd done this quite a few times, you see, because I wanted some proof. But, you know, it's really tedious sitting there and having to flick through 6 hours of two people just asleep and nothing happening. But this particular evening, we played the tape back, and there was just a very bright flash in the side of the bedroom. The curtains were closed. This night in particular, she said they were coming to take her. And again, I've got a picture of from the videotape. What you can see is the bed is here. There's a bedside lamp.
Yeah.
And this huge, great flash of light.
And that's not a window?
No, the curtains were drawn.
No, is that a window where the light is there?
No, the window's here.
Okay.
And on the videotape, it just implodes, this light. like someone's just turning on a torch and turning it off.
And it's
we're both in bed asleep.
And it's for how long is that on?
It's just about 10 frames. It's just up like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
And then you don't see anything else? You don't see her floating out of the bed? Or...
No. The camera was switched off as well. That was the other thing.
The camera was switched off?
Yeah. There's
still... was it a tape camera?
There's 2 hours missing, you see, and I can't explain who turned off the camera.
So what you're saying is, hold on, there was a flash.
The camera came on.
Yeah. Or was it generated by movement or something, though?
I don't know. It's just a flash in the room. Something just gave off this flash of light.
Yeah. The camera was on when you went to bed?
Yeah.
So it was like on a slow thing, wasn't it?
It was just on long play, yeah.
Long play.
All that was gone. All that was gone.
All that was gone?
Yeah.
Well, all that was left was the flash?
You see her turning the camera on.
Yeah.
She goes back to bed. I'm asleep, which is not what my memory recalls. That flash occurs, and then we just sleep for 6 hours. No, so I can't explain that. She can't explain that.
So wait a minute. I thought you said that the camera had wiped itself off or turned itself off.
At the beginning, you know, we turned the camera on and chatted for about half an hour and fell asleep. All that's gone.
All that's gone.
Yeah. I can't. It doesn't prove there are aliens. It doesn't prove she was abducted, but it proves something paranormal was going on. And I couldn't.
Okay. All right. So what happened after then?
Things just got very bizarre. She was channeling lots of information. Things took on quite a heavier tone, if you like, when she began to verbally channel. They'd actually they'd inhabit her vocal cords and speak through her. And I remember the first time thinking, you know, this can't be real. She must be in some sort of dream state. But her voice changed, her tonality, her vocabulary changed. And they told us a lot of things about who they are, why they're here, why they're interested in us. And
they told her this when she was having these REM things?
They talked to me. They would talk to me through her.
They would talk to you? So you'd be sitting there...
In the same way we're having a conversation. I'd be
she's awake, is she? In this?
No, she's in some sort of altered state. She wouldn't recall any...
So you'd have a conversation with them? Oh, well, this is great. OK, so what happened then? They would say, hello, we're the aliens, or something?
There was one particular being that we used to channel through her.
And what, did he have a name, or she?
We gave him a name. Well, he just... he created a name from my name, Christopher Anthony Nicholas Martin. Those are my two middle names. He called himself Anthelus, which is basically just...
Anthelus?
Yeah. So it's just a label.
It sounds pretty spacey, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Anthelus.
it does, yeah.
OK.
So this chap claimed to be 450 years old, which is
Earth
getting
years.
on a little bit. Yeah.
Earth years.
They have a very, very long lifespan, apparently.
OK.
And they've been observing for a very long time. They're afraid to show themselves because they're afraid of triggering a conflict or some sort of societal collapse or stock market crash.
A lot of people are aware of aliens, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are apparently aware of aliens, and there are, I'm sure, thousands of people watching this program who believe in aliens.
But that's one thing. But if you were to turn on the news and see a camera focus on a flying saucer above Westminster, that'd be something entirely different.
Except the problem is, of course, now that because of photoshopping and so on, you can have...
No, but if this is live...
Special effects.
If this was a live camera feed beaming around the world, that would be a different ballgame. It would affect... I think it would shake.
Well, it certainly would, but it doesn't look very odd at the moment. Institutions like the Catholic Church are saying, oh, yes, it wouldn't deny Christ if aliens exist. Well, it wouldn't affect our religion, so, carry on, guys, it's...
Well, they held a conference last month discussing the possibility of extraterrestrial life, and it doesn't conflict with...
That's what they're saying, isn't it? It doesn't conflict with their belief system.
There are rumours on the net that President Obama is going to make an announcement very soon.
Did they give you, these aliens, when they were channeling to you through Vicky, did they give you some indication of when they were going to reveal themselves?
They made one comment which I couldn't really understand. They said they would show themselves when there is peace on your planet.
Well, they're not going to show it. They're not going to come anytime soon, then, are they?
There's never been a time when there's been no conflict in the world. So that's going to have to be a very special place.
I mean, you know, we even bombed Bosnia on Christmas Day, didn't we? So
there you go. There's always a conflict.
It's not going to be any special occasions.
So something's going to happen that's going to stop the fighting, and that will be the trigger.
So not only is something going to happen that's extraordinary to stop all the fighting, but at the same time, the aliens are going to go, woo, we're here.
This is what we were told.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, I've got to ask this question. Is there a link to 2012? Is that... You know, everyone's talking about 2012 and the end of the Mayan calendar and so on.
That wasn't made... That date wasn't told to us as being special.
But did they say this was going to happen then?
Yeah, but they wouldn't give us a time frame. All they would say was when you least expect it.
Because, you know, well, I don't know when that means, when we least expect it. You know, is that because something else is going on, some other big thing?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, yes.
So when some other big thing is going on, this could be a really big thing, because it didn't happen on 9/11, and that wasn't a non-peaceful... Well, anyway, look, we're going to go for another break now. See you back here very soon. Welcome back to On the Edge with me, Theo Chalmers, and my special guest, Christopher Martin, talking about alien abductions. So they're now channeling to you, these aliens. So they've clearly got an agenda that is other than just giving her memory tests and playing with her brain a bit. So what does it become? What does this turn into then?
It turns into just a really bizarre scenario that I found myself involved in, with not only a girlfriend who was having these experiences, but surrounded by these invisible aliens that were watching us and...
But you felt
testing.
you were being watched all the time?
Yeah, I mean, she said...
But she'd previously found a way of kind of cutting them out by not thinking of anything intellectual.
We'd let them back in, and now they were just, you know...
They were there?
Everywhere, yeah.
Did you feel that they had some sort of equipment that was watching you, or could they do it without equipment?
Well, you know, if you think about what we have these spy drones that can just fly over us and take pictures of our number plates. And
they're developing insects now, aren't they?
There you go.
That can carry little cameras and stuff.
Take that forward 10,000 years, they can see anything. Nothing was, you know, hidden.
That could be embarrassing.
Well, yeah.
But hey, wouldn't that be great if they could do that, and then they could perhaps on one day they could say, right, we're going to show you what George W. Bush and Tony Blair really talked about.
I did think about that. I thought, well, if these people can do that, they must have some very interesting video clips of
the assassination of John Kennedy. I've got a list already.
Yeah.
Aliens, if you're watching, give me a call. And we'll have a chat about which video clips I'd like to have on this show next week, OK?
You might find yourself in the clip. That's the other thing.
Oh, I might be in the clip.
You might do.
Well, there could be some embarrassing... I'm sure they could... I'm not trying to think of the most embarrassing thing that they could have seen me do, and... God, who knows? Who knows? But, you know, can you imagine if you had that opportunity, you could say, right, I want to see the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
Well, I personally think all this is in a library somewhere. All important events in human history is all there somewhere. It's just a fascinating thought.
I mean, it is an incredible thought, isn't it? Wouldn't that be something that would be so absolutely... That would certainly stop the traffic.
Absolutely. But there you go.
But hey, OK, so you're getting this channeling. It's involving you now. Where does this go to?
Well, the next major development was starting to notice UFOs, basically. We started to...
Well, everywhere you went?
Well, not everywhere, but I remember one afternoon we were walking and we were going shopping, and we saw this white metallic object. It was on the edge of a cloud, and it was a bright sunny day.
Yeah.
And it just kind of reversed into the cloud and came out again. And it did that 2 or 3 times, and I thought, hang on a sec, you know, that's not an aircraft, it's not a helicopter. And I said to her, I said, look, can you see what I'm seeing? She said, yes. She said, oh, that's it.
But the thing is, I had one of those metallic balloons a couple of years ago, you know, that says happy birthday on it.
Yeah.
And I thought, just for fun, I'll cut the string off and let it go.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're supposed to do that, by the way, because they're metallic, they can affect...
Oh, right, OK.
You know, so just a word of advice here, don't do what I did. But anyway, I did it. And as it went away, this metallic thing, it was flashing in the sun, on and off, like it had a light in it. It was flashing on and off. And I thought to myself, as it was going across the countryside, there are probably people somewhere going, oh, look at that UFO.
Well, balloons wobble. They tend to follow the prevailing wind.
Well, it certainly went with the wind, yes.
This thing was going back and forwards.
Yeah, that is harder to imagine. That would be...
you can't really explain that by any normal...
Okay, so you started doing what?
So I thought, right, well, if this is going to happen regularly, I'm going to invest in a video camera. So we went out and bought one.
Yeah.
And, you know, we started to see
strange
things.
We're going to show some clips then. Let's show the clip one. We've only got a couple of clips to show because it's only an hour-long show.
Those struts.
I've got to say, though, have you ever been to those sort of parties where they do an arch out of balloons?
Yes.
Professional balloon companies fill balloons and make them into an arch. Could that not be the guys at the party have a few drinks, cut the ropes?
Yeah, sure.
And off it, because it looks to me, that's what it looks like.
Well, if you watch the whole clip, the thing goes into a cloud, and we calculated that, you know, clouds are roughly about 3,000 feet high. And we worked out with the zoom of the camera, we could estimate this thing was probably about 100 feet wide or length, and that's quite a large object to be buoyant and not sink like a stone, you know. So I don't know what it is, but it was. We saw lots of very strange.
Well, let's look at your second clip then, because this is quite an interesting one.
The idea that we are galactic beings is something that's crucial to how we view the kind of visitor phenomenon. This kind of family of other sentient beings that are actively, involved in our day-to-day lives, albeit covertly.
I believe that some of them are on the same level, but there are also some of them on a different level, or on the psychic level.
Maybe there's some sort of technology that they're flying over in Salisbury Plain that isn't in the public domain.
Well, there are people, of course, who talk about, backwards engineering. They capture, alien spacecraft and backwards engineer it, and then they, who knows what they...
Who knows?
So what did you think that was?
Well, I just wanted to record and film and let other people just make their own minds up and decide. It's not for me to...
You've made this film as well. Is anybody out there?
That was a film I produced in 2003, I believe. And there's some interesting video clips on there.
Yeah, and then you started touring and talking.
Well, when the book was published in 2000, I gave lectures in the United States, Australia, Europe.
And you went on Richard and Judy, which is on
Richard and Judy show. Yeah, there was a lot.
And some other shows in Australia and you've been all over. So, is it now some sort of mission of yours then?
Well, it was. I mean, for about 4 or 5 years, I felt I was basically promoting the book and the DVD. I think now, 12, 13 years on, I'm more in a place of acceptance now. I've accepted that happened. We're not alone. We've got visitors here.
Are you still seeing them?
Not as often. So I'm busy. I don't have the free time now to devote to...
You're not watching the skies?
Unfortunately, not as often.
So, I mean, if people out there are interested in filming UFOs, do you think all you have to do is go out and...
Well, join a local UFO group. If I look on the web and meet up with people, go out on sky watches. It's a good way to socialise and make friends. And sometimes you do see things that you might find is very unusual.
Well, there's lots and lots of things on YouTube, for instance, isn't there? But of course, some of them are stunningly realistic, and then you think, well, that must be faked, and I know some of them are fake.
That's the problem now. Computer graphics have got to the stage where they can create absolutely anything. So,
the only person who knows if it's genuine or not is the person who shot it.
You have to know who shot it, the circumstances, witnesses. That's probably more important than the clip itself. If you just got a random piece of video on YouTube, it doesn't mean anything.
But that's what makes me think, you said if there was one hovering over Parliament or somewhere, or Buckingham Palace or who knows where, or the White House lawn, people would think, well, it's faked, wouldn't they?
Well, if you think about 9/11, you had cameras everywhere on those buildings.
But there are people who say that those planes were holograms.
Well, I think the video disproves that. Having said that, there are some interesting clips of metallic orbs around the both towers before they went down.
Yeah.
If you do a search on the web for 9/11 Twin Towers UFOs, you will see some very...
I think I've seen nearly every bit of film there is to see on that subject.
Because it would make sense, they're interested in world events.
Well, there's been a lot of incidents involving alleged UFO sightings wherever something interesting is happening to humanity, like, for instance, World War II, when they had the ones that they called Foo Fighters. And then when they were developing nuclear weapons, there were a lot of sightings. And in fact, if you think about the one...
Rendlesham Forest.
Rendlesham Forest. That was a major site in the UK for nuclear weapons, wasn't
Absolutely,
it?
yeah. They had a huge stockpile.
Bentwaters.
Yes.
RAF Bentwaters, which is actually an American air base.
Yes.
With I think Tomahawk or cruise missiles. I'm not sure. Tomahawk, I think. Nuclear weapons. So maybe they are watching us. But why would they be so obvious if they can do it secretly? And film you in your bedroom or whatever, and film everything, then why would they need to be overt? Is it maybe to let us know a bit?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe there's this kind of, they're going to remain in the shadows, but they want some people to see something, just to create a ripple of awareness that isn't too in your face.
And can be denied.
And can be denied.
A bit of deniability.
But there's still this kind of undercurrent of, maybe there is something there, and it's not too threatening.
What do you think of these reports that there are underground bases all over the planet full of aliens, some of which are cooperating with governments, like the American government, for instance, and other governments?
Well, there are reports of, I don't know if it's Area 51, but of a base there and some collaborating going on, and which is a little bit disturbing because the idea is... I don't think
it is Area 50. I think it's...
was it...
Dulce, Arizona.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there was allegedly technology was exchanged for giving these greys permission to abduct a certain amount of human beings, and they overstepped the quota apparently.
Yeah.
But that's another area. People go missing.
So they're not exactly friendly then. If they're worried about us being violent. What are they doing abducting us and experimenting with us? And what about all those mutilated animals as well?
Well, there's a case in Brazil in the mid-90s of a man that was...
mutilated in that way. I did a program about that.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen that picture.
That's very disturbing. But I don't think you can judge... In the same way you can't judge humanity on the actions of one person, I don't think you can judge all ETs as being hostile and negative. I think there are different groups, some maybe more friendly than others. But there is an element of...
What about lizards then? What about shape-shifting and those kind of, Richard E. Hall has been on the show, has his own show on this channel, who talks about lots of different species of aliens, some that look like lizards and some that look like man, some that are tall Nordic blonde ones and so on, and they vary enormously. Do you subscribe to that there are...
Well, I think
it's a rich universe full of...
I think it's a diverse universe that the bipedal format seems to be prevalent. In other words, 2 legs, 2 arms, and a head.
It must be. I mean, if you were, for instance, a fish and intelligent, it would be quite hard to get off the ground with all that water, wouldn't it? Because of how dense it is.
You're not going to advance very far, basically. But this form is the most ideal, I think, to be success in.
Because you can see a long way.
Well, you've got the opposable thumb, so you can manipulate
You're not standing
controls.
on your hands, so you can use them for carrying tools and.
You can press a button or you can fire a weapon. It's the form that works apparently.
But I've looked, for instance, at the Star Child skull.
Yes,
which we've had. We've had that here.
Wow. Okay.
And
Lloyd Pye. Yeah.
Sorry.
Lloyd Pye.
Lloyd Pye. He's been here. Yes. And you just think, well, okay, maybe there was a creature with this skull and it had a very thin neck, but how did it support in our gravity that head? Because the head is so big and heavy, and
well,
the neck is so thin.
Yeah, the skull, I believe, was much lighter.
It's very light and strong, but nonetheless, if it's got brain in it, it's going to be heavy. That's what I couldn't understand.
Maybe it was designed for another environment.
It is. I mean, the one he's got is a 3D model of it, although it's absolutely accurate. But it is very weird when you hold it to think that.
I could imagine. Yeah, I've not seen it personally.
It is.
Maybe this being was designed for another gravity field in another planet. A light, slightly
it's got
lighter.
some human DNA apparently, and some DNA that isn't human.
Well, this is what's
I must
going
get Lloyd
on.
back on the show. Yeah.
I think there's a new race being created somewhere, and
you think
that has ramifications. You know, why?
So do you think that? I mean, like at the end of Close Encounters, when these children walk off and these kind of spiky hybridy things maybe walk off the spaceship. Do you think that's what's going to happen? There's going to be they're all going to come down, all these hybrid children.
Well, it suggests they're going to replace what's here, which is a little bit disturbing.
Well,
basically, human version 2.0, and that suggests
So we're human 1.0.
Yeah,
and we're obsolete.
We're going to be deleted very soon. Who knows? I don't know.
Do you think so? Oh, well, that's all we've got time for. On that dire note, thank you to everyone for watching our show, and for those who left messages on our forum at edgemediatv.com. And thanks to my very special guest, Christopher Martin. His book, Intruders in the Night, is available directly from him, and his website is on our website, on the forum. So next week, we'll be back with yet another exciting show that might even change your life. Until then, remember, they're watching you, watching us, watching them. Cheerio.